Kevin and Estela with Fieldcraft Survival. I want to take a few minutes just to talk about this brand new knife, which is a collaboration between Fieldcraft Survival and Montana Knife Company. This knife has been a long time coming. In fact, Josh Smith and I sat down over a year ago to design this knife, and through multiple conversations and prototypes, we finally have the Fieldcraft Survival Montana Knife Company everyday carry knife. Let's start from the very beginning. I heard from Mike Glover in the summer of 2021 that Josh Smith from Montana Knife Company was in town and he was interested in making a brand new knife with Fieldcraft Survival. To the average person, the name Josh Smith might sound like any regular guy, but to me, I knew that Josh Smith was the youngest journeyman knifesmith in the American Bladesmith Society, as well as the youngest master bladesmith at ages 15 and 19 respectively. To put that into perspective, you don't just become a journeyman smith or a master smith unless you have some serious talent. And Josh Smith has been in the game for a while, and he's refined his talent to a point where he is on a level of mastery that many people will never ever see. So I took that opportunity as an absolute privilege to sit down with one of the best in the industry to create a knife for you that would serve as a fantastic everyday carry option for out in the field or in a pinch, a defensive scenario. This knife, I want you to think of it as 90% tool, 10% weapon. It really was designed to do a lot of everyday carry functions really, really well. And I want to address those functions through the design and explain why it is shaped the way it is. So let's start from the very, very end. The back of the handle is rounded. If you're carrying this knife on your waistline and you bend over, you don't want the knife to jab into you. The second reason why it's rounded is because a lot of the knives that I used in my bushcraft background have rounded ends. So if I'm pushing on that knife, I'm able to push without puncturing the palm of my hand. I can also cap that if I'm, say, thrusting it into a log to do a one-handed fire starter against the spine of the knife. It's rounded for that reason. So that's why the back of the handle is round. Now, immediately forward of the back of the handle, you're going to see this jimping, these traction grooves that are cut into the tang of the knife. The reason for that is if I'm drawing this knife and I'm getting it in the palm of my hand or between my fingers, I want to have a positive point, a touch point that lets me know where that knife is. Speaking of the handle, you'll notice that the handle is not highly polished. In fact, there is some milling mark there, and that's designed for traction. This knife was designed with a bird and trout kind of background or design concept. And if you're working on cleaning fish or cleaning small game, your hands are going to get slimy and bloody. So we don't want a handle that is going to be slick and would allow us to ride the blade by accident. So what we did is we left it nice and tacky, and that way you have a little bit of texture. But don't assume that that texture is going to be too much like a highly stippled firearm. If you have it against your body, it's not going to wear out your t-shirts, it's not going to scratch up your skin. But when you do have it in your hand, you're going to be thankful that it's there. Moving forward of, say, the main part of the handle, you're going to notice that these torque screws are silver and they're actually titanium. And that's so you can remove the handle scales. They'll never rust on you. They're going to be stronger than steel, and that's how they're attached to the blade. Slightly forward of that, you're going to see that there's a very slight self-guard in the steel, and that's to prevent your index finger from riding up to where the edge of the knife is. It's very similar to the other knives that are in the Montana Knife Company lineup, and that's why that design feature's there. Now, if we look at the very spine of the knife here, you're going to see two shallow recesses, one there and one there. These really take a cue from some of the bushcraft knives that I've used in the past. So when you do put your thumb there, you get a slight bit of a recess to give you a little bit of a purchase. And the same thing is true when you're holding the knife like this. You get a little bit of a purchase. The knife has a flat grind to it. It's also a very thin stock knife, so it's going to slice extremely well. If you look at the knives from the 90s and the 2000s, the concept was to design them very thick, making them basically sharpened pry bars. Well, we want this knife to be a knife first. You should never use your knife as a pry bar. There are things called pry bars that work better as a pry bar. We want this knife to be a knife first and foremost, and that's why it's a thinner stock, flat grind, very easy to sharpen in the field, and the CPM 154 steel is fantastic for rust resistance and edge holding. Now this, the sheath, is something that's often overlooked when it comes to knife design. Many times the sheath is made by someone other than the knife maker. Well, Montana Knife Company, again, the best in the business, they are making the sheath in-house to make sure that they address the needs of the end user. A couple things you'll notice right away is this cloth grabbing clip. These are made by Discreet Carry Concepts. They are the same cloth grabbing clip that you'll find on our appendix holsters, or same style with that cloth grabber, and they're fantastic. This also has a adjustable retention. So if you are going somewhere where there is the opportunity for the knife to accidentally slip out with a little bit too much pressure, you can really crank it down, and the only way you're gonna get it out is with a deliberate yank. The other thing you'll notice is that it's rounded all around. So if I wanted to carry this in my pocket, it's just long enough where it sticks out, but I can take my thumb, push on the sheath, and draw my blade. That was deliberate as well. Another thing you're gonna notice, to increase the safety, we made sure that the back of the sheath was taller than the front. So if you are resheathing, there's no chance that you slide past the front to the back and poke yourself. You actually hit the back of the sheath, and then you can ride the sheath home. So the only other thing I'm gonna point out on this sheath for a design perspective is that the back is relatively flat. You'll notice that the front is pronounced. This is so it rides comfortably against your skin. And if the end user said, hey, I want it to even be more comfortable, it's flat and there's a little bit of texture that you can rough up and put moleskin on there to give it even a little bit more comfort in the everyday carry role. So from very beginning of this design to the end design to this final product, everything was intentionally placed on this blade or designed for this blade to be a perfect everyday carry knife. And I think you're going to be very impressed with the way that it rides and the weight of it, and that you're not going to want to leave it home because it doesn't add much to your daily carry. It's not that big sharpened pry bar. It's not a big chunk of steel. It's going to weigh you down. You're going to find uses for carrying a fixed blade. And remember, fixed blades are better than folding knives because folding knives are pre-broken knives that are pinned back together. This thing will never ever fold on you. The folding knife may never open on you. Guys, I'm Kevin Estela of Fieldcraft Survival, and this is the brand new Fieldcraft Survival Montana Knife Company collaboration blade that's coming at you very, very soon.